And the hard times will come from the good times. The hard times will come from success. The hard times will come from the money, and the mayhem follows.
Spike Lee doesn't have the best track record with English-language remakes of world cinema classics. His god-awful Old Boy redo can attest to that. So a lot of people were naturally skeptical when he set out to adapt a Kurosawa classic. But Highest to Lowest is a much more satisfying reimagining because it's not trying to ape the greatness of its predecessor. It's completely its own thing. It's more of a cover version than a typical remake. It captures what made the original story so compelling, the moral complexity, the nuanced characters, the twisty narrative, but gives it a refreshing verve and vibrancy. It has a banging soundtrack, it captures the hustle and bustle on the streets of New York, and it's anchored by a typically charismatic turn from Denzel Washington. It doesn't outdo the Kurosawa version, but it's not just a pale imitation. It's an original retelling of a timeless story.
Where's my money? I got the 4-pounder sitting right here. Don't try nothing funny.
This video contains spoilers for Highest to Lowest and the original film, High and Low. Lee's revamp is a very different film than the Kurosawa original, but they both have the same intriguing moral dilemma at their core. A business mogul's son is kidnapped and held for a ransom that could ruin him, but when it turns out the kidnapper made a mistake and took the mogul's chauffeur's son instead, he still demands the same ransom. So the mogul has to choose between saving a child who isn't his own and holding on to his wealth and status. The fundamental structure of Alan Fox's script is similar to Kurosawa's. The first half sees King wrestling with that decision before ultimately deciding to do the right thing, then the second half is built around the quest to save the kid and bring the kidnapper to justice. The original was a straightforward police procedural. It was one of the greatest ever made, but it was all about how the police handled the situation and outsmarted the kidnapper. The remake is a completely fresh take on the same basic plot. It modernizes it with little details like swapping out the pink dye pack for a tracking device. It wisely changes King's company to a record label. The music business is much more exciting than the shoe business, and it paves the way for a much groovier soundtrack too, with a lot of funk and disco. Lee focuses more on the character dynamics than the police procedures. He spends the first act developing the relationship between King and his chauffeur, and the friendship between their two sons, which makes the kidnapping more emotionally charged and makes King's choice even tougher. The chauffeur's son isn't just an innocent kid, he's practically part of the family.
$17.5 million in an all-black Jordan backpack.
Try me if you think I'm playing.
I ain't got...
The lead performance is classic Denzel. He's funny, he's charming, he's captivating, and he effortlessly commands the screen. And Jeffrey Wright rounds out the chauffeur with more depth and personality than he had in the original. In the Kurosawa film, he's just a concerned dad who wants his son back. He's a plot device. But here, he's as much King's closest confidant as he is his driver.
What is that?
Insurance. That's Jake from State Farm.
It sounds corny to say that New York is a character in a movie, but Spike Lee is one of the few filmmakers where that's actually the case. We get a gorgeous view of the skyline from King's luxury apartment. Kurosawa put a miniature of Yokohama outside the window for the night scenes in the original, but Lee's New York skyline is the real deal. The ransom drop-off sequence, set on a Kodama Express train in the original, takes us on a tour of the subway system in a train full of Yankee fans chanting on their way to a game. The Puerto Rican Day Parade provides a vibrant backdrop for the sequence, and creates a nice juxtaposition between the joyousness of the parade and the intensity of the hostage situation. The city really comes alive in this sequence.
Right here is my favorite New York pizza joint, and I'm gonna go get me a New York slice.
The third act deviates from the source material. In the original, the police use fake news to trick the kidnapper, but in the remake, King and his chauffeur take the law into their own hands when they stumble across a major clue and the cops ignore it. The climactic confrontation between the King and the kidnapper, separated by a screen, is moved from a prison to a recording studio, and their conversation turns into a rap battle. It was a fun new spin on that iconic scene, and I was pretty impressed to see that Denzel holds his own opposite A$AP Rocky. Then their confrontation escalates to an action sequence that wasn't in the original film. A foot chase onto the roof of a moving train followed by a fist fight. It's definitely more exciting, but it also starts to lose the thematic focus on capitalism and the class divide and the desperation of the 99%, and just becomes a standard hero-villain story. The ending drags a bit. There's about 20 minutes of movie left after that climax. We still get the final showdown between King and the kidnapper at the prison, even after the reimagined version of that scene. And it doesn't have the same impact, because they already had that face-to-face, heart-to-heart, and said everything they had to say to each other. The closing musical number is certainly an impressive performance, but it doesn't really add anything. The movie probably should have ended with the Kings visiting Jeffrey Wright in hospital. That's when it runs out of story to tell, but that's nowhere near the actual ending. But on the whole, I had a good time with Highest to Lowest. It's a rare remake that isn't overshadowed by its classic predecessor. If you haven't seen the Kurosawa original, you'll get everything you need to get out of this story from the remake. And if you have seen it, this is a fresh interpretation that does its own thing and doesn't step on Kurosawa's toes. It might not be the highest ranking Kurosawa remake, that would be a fistful of dollars, but it's far from the lowest.
That's the question I have for you.
Got to get ready.
Can you handle it?
What a big payback.
All money ain't good money.
Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you liked the video. Remember to like and subscribe and click on the little bell. And also seize the day and call your mom and be kind to yourself.